I always hate these 10-second delays. All right. Greetings, everyone. Yep, we are live with another Brony Debates, and this one may or may not be an actual debate. We got our good friend CorpulentBrony here. How are you doing, sir?
What the buck is up? How you doing?
Hey, I'm the
doing well.
buck. I'm the buck, and I am up. I'm doing pretty good. But yeah, we're gonna talk about conventions. We've got Ponyville Ciderfest going on right now. So if anybody's out listening at Ciderfest, say hi in the chat. We love to hear from you. And Corpulent here was in charge of Mare Fair, which happened in my backyard pretty much down here in Central Florida at the end of September, going into the first weekend of October. And I had a lot of fun. Cruizer was there. He had a lot of fun. We brought a few friends along.
Indeed.
They had a lot of fun. I would say ultimately it was a very well-run convention. And, we got all this convention stuff going on. So I want to talk about conventions. And it's especially refreshing that there's a new convention in town because it's we've sort of had the big players for a while. Everybody, BronyCon's been out for a little while, but there's TrotCon, Everfree, BabsCon, Ciderfest, and those are the main
Winnie
American
City.
ones. Winnie City, yeah, those are the main American ones. I know there's still some going up in Europe, but we haven't had a new convention pop up in a little while. So real quick before I really get into it here, thanks to everybody who supports the channel. We actually I woke up this morning and found myself with a new supporter, so thank you very much. And somebody had bought some shirts. Links to all of that are in the description. We're very grateful to everybody, especially the $10 and up tier, such as Heather Blossom, Shady Oak, Sid, Autoknight, Emerald, Senko, DJ, Rein-Kun, QFlash, Billy, Alden, Easy Mode, Kanto, Mr. Sonic 31, Alicia Lynette, Sniper Nighter, Calbeck, StarChaser, VentureCorp, Willieson, Icanis Gorilla, and Dark Malcontent. If you want to support the channel, get on the show. Or if you want to check out everybody else's content that supports the channel, links in the description. Anyway, so Corp, first of all, what made you want to start a new convention? And what made you pick Central Florida?
Okay. I just want to correct something you said real quick.
Okay.
I didn't actually run. I wasn't in charge. Everyone thinks I am for some reason, but I was kind of second in command.
Well, let me tell you this: whenever I reached out to Mare Fair, you were the one to respond. And
well,
and as far
I
as
did
know,
a lot of work.
yeah, as far as I know for runners, you and what at the convention itself, I see you running around like a chicken with your head cut off. As far as I could tell, you were in charge. So thank you for the correction, but continue.
Yeah. But so I, this is kind of I could get into like the long form answer. Do you want a quickie?
Let's start with a quickie and we'll build out from there.
Okay. I just really wanted to, there's a group of friends and we got together and we wanted to make a new con based on things that were happening in the fandom convention scene and in the pony fandom convention scene. We just felt like there was something missing, and we had an idea of how we could do it and make it better. And sometimes we'd argue with people who work at cons, and we'd say, well, why do you do it this way? Why do you do it that way? Why don't you try this? And they're often like reluctant to make changes, and they're like, well, if you think you know how to do it, why don't you just do it and see how hard it is? So we took the bait and we said, okay.
Ooh, I'm interested to know what some of those things were, but
Indeed.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So like you said, we can get into it, but yeah, as for Florida being the location of the convention, that was really kind of because of so the first guy who put forward that he wants to start a convention, he's like, I want to do this. I want to do it in Florida. I want to do it in Tampa. So he was the first guy sort of in charge of everything. We eventually, we built up a group of people, and then we decided, you know what, Tampa is probably not the best spot. We had a lot of trouble getting finding a good venue there that was a reasonable price. So we were like, well, why don't we move it to Orlando? I suggested that because I live here, and I'm like, I know there's a lot of tourists who come to town, which means there's a lot of hotel rooms and a lot of hotels and a lot of convention space in a lot of these hotels. So I thought, we can probably find a really good deal here. And the airport is a good airport because you can fly here for relatively cheap. I was hearing people getting flights under $100 round trip to come to
Wow.
Orlando. So, it seemed like it would be a good choice, and I think it was pretty good choice.
Yeah, I remember when we were doing the Grand Brony Gala, and now granted we did that in Tampa because the family that was running it was right up the street
Yeah.
from where they had it, so that's almost a given. But what's surprising me is you were saying that you were having trouble finding things for a good price because they were always saying that they couldn't get to Orlando anything in Orlando for a good price.
I mean, we wanted it to be in Orlando because that's where everybody goes. But the family, they were pretty adamant about keeping it in Tampa.
Mm-hmm. So,
No offense.
real quick, let's go around the table here, and because we were all there, obviously. Tell us what your favorite thing about Mare Fair was. I can start us off. I definitely liked how casual it was, and it had a very unique culture, which is to say, 4chan had a huge presence there, and a lot of it was just 4chan memes, some of which I didn't understand. Others were like, okay, gosh darn, I thought I left those behind when I stopped watching Pony Thread simulators, but here we are. But I did like that it had such a unique culture that gave the convention its own identity, that it's not just where Everfree Northwest or BabsCon, and I haven't been to any of the other major ones, but they feel very similar when you go to them, and you have a lot of the same events. You guys had a lot of unique events and a lot of unique people there. Cruiser, what do you think?
My biggest concern was the fact that it was going to be an 18 and older con. Now,
No,
I will say,
I was saying, what's your favorite part? What was your favorite part of the convention?
yeah, I'm getting to that.
Okay.
This tackles on with it. But I was told that it wasn't really about what's it called? It wasn't meant to be something like Rainforest. It was more just to enjoy having fun as an adult with the show. And because, look, I get it. It's a kid show. We still enjoy some kid things, but you can still have fun as an adult. And there wasn't people, running around with their pants down. It was, people were still very respectful. It felt very laid back. You didn't have to watch your mouth so much. And it was very calm, we'll say.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
Corp, I don't know how much you experienced of the convention with all the work that you were doing, but do you have an answer for the question?
Oh yeah. For me, it was crazy. It was I've been to a lot of conventions, and maybe not as many as a lot of people, but I do a few a year usually, except during COVID. And I make a lot of friends at these cons, a lot of people that I've seen, and man, what floored me was I don't know, like, other people kept saying this to me too. It was like one of the first cons, at least since 2019, and maybe ever since BronyCon 2019, sorry, where like I knew so many people there. Like, I knew almost everyone there. It was crazy to see so many friends all together. And then what really floored me is when I'm like, oh my gosh, I was like part of making this happen. It's like, oh wow, and all these people come in. And then, I mean, the favorite moment for me was the charity auction. I mean, that blew me away. What we did and how we were able to raise, everyone was willing to help raise money for the Fallen Oak equine rescue.
Yeah, that was all pretty cool, and it's amazing that you knew so many people there. What was your turnout? It was at least 500, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was about 525, somewhere in there.
Hmm. Now you kept it to a pretty small area, so you had it at the Wyndham there, but it
Hmm.
was only like one corner of the Wyndham. You guys had like a hallway and what, 4 rooms, something like that.
Yeah, we had well, technically we had uh, we had, yeah, about a quarter of their total space. Um, we were planning, right, for about 250 to 350 people. And I just want to check though. Did you want to go into the reasons why I started the convention in a little more detail later, or
Oh,
uh, I didn't want to
here,
miss
yeah,
that.
yeah, let's not skip that,
I
but finish what you're saying now, and
Okay,
then
yeah.
we'll go back into why.
So yeah, we were planning for about 250 to 350 people. I really didn't think it's good with this type of thing, especially when money's involved, to be conservative. You know, we started a nonprofit corporation in Florida. We're working right now with the IRS to get that into an official 501c3. It's a long process. Um, Hopefully, we're almost there. And we wanted to save money. You know, first year we didn't have a lot of seed money. You know, we didn't come into this with a ton of money, and we weren't really willing to. We didn't really want to take out a bunch of loans or something like personal loans, but we were willing to do that if it had to happen. So we tried to be conservative, like 300 people. Um, and that was the space we got. We thought this would be a comfortable space with 300 people. And then when we started getting the ticket sales started to really pick up, we got a little nervous, right? Like the original rooms we had, you know, that little hangout area, that
Yeah.
whole hangout area with the tables and all that, that wasn't in the plans. It wasn't until we started getting so many badges sold that we went to the hotel and said, "Listen, we'd like some more room so we can spread people out a little more." And that's when they gave us that section of the area, which I think helped out. And it was a really, people seem to really like that part of it too. So
Indeed. So, Cruiser, is there anything else you want to add or say before we get back into the why of the convention?
Um, I think you guys had some good vendors. Uh, yeah, there were some good panels that you had because I normally when I go to conventions, I'm not the biggest panel person. I usually go to meet celebrity guests or guests from the show. But this was a brand new convention that's in my neck of the woods. I want to support it, and quite frankly, I'm glad I did. Uh, Florida, I don't think people realize just what a gold mine Florida has become for the convention scene, and it's just great to have a PonyCon back in our home state.
Indeed.
yeah.
Mhm.
Corpulent, tell us a little bit more about what started the convention and the why.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like telling this because there's three big facets that kind of went into the planning, and there are multiple things that or maybe four actually, that really inspired most of the core group of people who got together and started this, like, almost, geez, almost 2 years ago now. Um and those were, number one, we did want to have, so we've, like I said before, we would go to a lot of conventions, and we noticed something, that in a lot of these cons, pony cons by the way, there's fewer and fewer people under the age of 18 that you run into. And back in the early days of conventions, there were a lot of kids. It's, you can't deny that, right? As time went on, though, as the show kind of lost its popularity, the people sticking around in the fandom tended to be older, or the people who were kids back then are now adults, right? So people started introducing more like adult content into the conventions. And in order to account for this, they would have, like, rooms with NSFW panels, or, where bad language could be spoken, or images shown, and they would have to have a ID checker at every door, checking IDs to make sure you're over 18. Or they'd have, adult vendor halls, and they'd have to be checking IDs and everything. So I was like, why not just cut this out? We see we're mostly getting adults nowadays in cons. If you just check their badge when they check in or check their ID when they pick up a badge, then we don't have to do that. We don't have to have that extra energy expended. And plus, I thought it would give a different environment and different feel to the con. The other thing was politics. There was conventions used to be really about ponies. In the pony, I'm talking when I talk about conventions, it's just in the pony fandom, obviously.
Yeah.
It used to be really about ponies, right? It was about the show. It was about the characters. It was about the people behind it. It was about the fans who liked the show. That's what they were about. And then over time, I don't know exactly what happened, but around 2018, 2019, in that area, things started to get more and more and more political. And a lot of
2016.
yeah, well, yeah, probably.
At least that's when it hit the gala for us.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And it was kind of disappointing. And you see this, that the convention Twitter accounts start tweeting political stuff, and it's like, I used to be really into politics, and then I got into ponies, and I just felt happier in my life. And things just got more and more political. A lot of these nonprofit conventions were doing auctions to support really heavily political causes. And I was like, all of us, right? I'm saying me, but it was really the entire group of us were like, we don't really like this. Like, we want the conventions to be primarily about ponies. We don't want to be getting into that crap. We want to talk about ponies. And the sort of a corollary to that, right, is other fandoms kind of sneaking into the con scene. There were conventions.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I think it was at Everfree Northwest this past year. They actually had people that weren't from any pony show.
Yeah. And there's panels, in a lot of the cons nowadays, like they're completely not pony related, and there are vendors who don't sell a single piece of pony merchandise, and musicians who've never sung or made a song about ponies. And we're like, we don't really want that, right? Again, sticking with the pony theme. It's PonyCon. Let's keep it pony. We think there's a lot of talent in the fandom, and we're pretty sure we could fill a con with that talent that's pony focused. And that was a question we would ask on our vendor applications and musician applications. And even, I don't know if it came up in the panel once, but, how much of your, vendor booth or how much of your music set is going to be pony related? And we actually chose our vendors and musicians partly on that. And then the last item was oh yeah, that's right, COVID. A lot of cons were really reluctant, as the rest of society adapted into the post-COVID era, not requiring masks all the time or vaccinations. A lot of the conventions were reluctant to sort of make that change and that crossover. And we thought, well, we're in a post-COVID era. We should really be doing this like all the other pony cons in Europe today, or, a lot of the furry and anime cons in the US, and just kind of go back to sort of a more pre-COVID style where none of that is required. So all of those things kind of came together, and we're like, this is what we want to do, right? We want to make this con more about ponies. That was our primary driving force. We want our charity, we want it to be focused on like horse rescues or equine rescues, and not politics, right? It's kind of hard when you're talking animal rescues to be too political. I guess you can make anything political.
Right.
And
You certainly can. I'm curious as to what you had seen, because outside of like, I've been seeing more charities be more for like the Trevor Project, or things that are directly geared towards LGBT. But outside of that, I hadn't really seen much that was political in nature. Can you give me some more examples? Or was it just
okay.
that?
Partly it's that, right? It didn't seem to really tie into the fandom, a lot of those causes, but there was a charity chosen by, I don't really want to name the con because I can't remember it. I think it was BabsCon last year, but don't quote me on that. They chose a charity that was like a suicide hotline specifically for, I think, trans individuals.
Okay.
But the issue with this charity was The founders were actually, I think they were, I don't know if they were convicted or not, but they were brought up on charges relating to fraud with the charity, with stealing money from the charity. And also the charity was one of those suicide prevention hotlines that don't call the police or the fire department or the ambulance if someone's actually actively about to commit suicide. They let them do it on the phone. And I just thought this is really, and they do it because of political reasons. Like if you call the ambulance, then the police might show up, and the police are bad people. And in addition to that was, so that was the charity side of things, but there's also the Twitter side probably, or I hate to talk about Twitter, but you know, that
We're
social
going to be
media
talking
side.
about Twitter tonight, so let's
Yeah.
talk. You're just seeing more, and that was something I had noticed too, is not just like it's one thing if the con chair happens to have his or her own personal Twitter account where they're speaking their mind. I've got no problem with that, and I've got no problem with like even if I disagree with someone vehemently on literally anything, I can separate you from the fandom, or I'm sorry, that was a weird way to word it. I can share a space with you and not let it be about politics. But
Yeah.
I was seeing these people, and I'm sure you were too, on the official convention Twitter page posting these things.
Yeah,
And
the BabsCon Twitter page said that if you support certain presidential candidates, basically you're not welcome at our con.
you can just say Trump. We don't do censorship here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that too. They literally said if you support, okay, so now you've alienated half of the fan base, right?
Yeah, you'd be surprised just how many people in the Brony fandom are at least center-right leaning. I even remember after Everfree Northwest a few years ago, they sent that feedback form and asked, hey, what'd you think? And I told them straight up, I think when you guys echoed what BabsCon said, that really hurt you. You do know that like half the fandom, it leans center-right, correct? And I think in the end, this hurt you. COVID aside, you told a bunch of people you're not welcomed here.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we didn't like that either, and I just straight up said COVID policies are retarded, and people got offended by that because people think retard is a slur. I was using it.
I defended him, and you saw what happened.
Yeah, I was using it in its proper definition of not helpful, of stupid, of not doesn't work. And now and that kicked up a whole huge storm and it never should have been about that.
Yeah.
So we were very grateful when you guys came along and didn't care about that kind of thing, because I don't care if people agree or disagree. Let's at the very least let's have a conversation, learn from each other. That's what this show is about. The Brony Debates is about learning from each other, if nothing else, and then be friends despite our differences.
Yeah.
So that not even despite our differences, but because our differences, if that makes any sense. I value being able to learn from people who are different from me.
That's what I really wanted out of Mare Fair. Was I wanted a place where people who just want to come and have fun and kind of celebrate ponies can come together, and it doesn't matter what your politics are, it doesn't matter what your beliefs are, as long as you're an adult and you love ponies, you're welcome,
Yeah. Did you Corp, did you make it to any of the panels that were there while you were working it, or were you just working the whole time?
I was working I made it to the panels I was on.
Granted. What panels were you on? What did you do?
Oh, geez. I did a Twilight Sparkle appreciation panel. I think it was called Purple Pulchritudinous Pony Princess Praise panel. I did I did a book reading, like a children's book. It's like a children's book, and people sat down on the floor in front of me and just sat there, and they were just acting like kids. It was funny. And then what else did we do? Oh, I was on the plushie panel, talking about how to make plushies and maintain them and stuff like that. And then I also just kind of introduced and stuff. I don't know if you guys were awake, but Sunday morning, the charity panel, where the charity got up and talked about what they do and how they rescue horses and stuff, and kind of her life story about how she got into the work that she's doing. So those mostly what I did. But I don't think I got to see many panels. I got to walk in on panels and like see a little bit here and there. But man, I couldn't do a whole lot with everything else going on, unfortunately.
I was a little bummed out, and this is totally on me, but there was only like I think one panel I was really interested in as a concept was the furries versus bronies roast, and that was kind of funny to listen to when people actually had good roasts, and my fiance Heather got up on the mic and absolutely freaking killed it. I've had a couple of jokes, but I didn't rehearse them well enough. I got up there, I stuttered, I looked like an idiot. I'm gonna own that. So, thank God I don't think it's on tape anywhere.
It might be.
it might very well be, and I'll eat these words, and own my own cringiness. That one was fun. I got to do a health and fitness panel, which is actually uploaded to my channel right now. It uploaded at the same time. It finished uploading at the same time we went live, and is processing and has another hour of processing to go. So you should be able to watch this panel that I did as soon as this stream is over. And I was really bummed though that scheduling conflicts didn't allow me to go to the concert. I really wanted to go to the concert. You guys had Radiark, and I've been listening to Radiark for as long as he's been making music, and I was really looking forward to that. Did you happen to make it to that show? Did either of you happen to make it to that show?
I didn't. No.
I got to see some of the concert. I did. So Radiark's like a kind of a friend of mine. You know, I hang out with him a lot on Discord in a friend group, and I was really hoping he would play, and it took a little bit of convincing, but he decided to come and do the concert, and I got to see some of his set, and I got to see a couple other sets. Like I saw McMeag's set at the end of the concert, and I saw some other stuff kind of out from the hallway or on the stream. There's a stream of the concert, so the concert's up online if anyone wants to watch it.
I've actually got it tabbed.
Yeah.
I'm gonna listen to it later tonight.
Yeah, there's some audio issues in here and there, but this was we were kind of working out a lot of kinks, unfortunately, live.
Well, that's a first year kind of thing, and that almost segues me into the next question I wanted to ask. I wanted to ask about challenges that you faced during, but first I want to know what sort of challenges you ran into in leading up to the convention and how you overcame.
Yeah, so before the con, I've already kind of alluded to the fact that we had some trouble finding a venue in Tampa. I actually went down there and spent a whole day visiting different venues. I even visited the two old Grand Brony Gala venues just to get a feel for the locations and stuff. And we did a lot of emails. We sent out a lot of emails, and basically we got nothing back. And it was kind of disheartening. We spoke to some people, and they came back to us with some ideas. One of the people who helps run some furry cons said, well, there's this company called Helms Briscoe that will actually help you do venue searches. Like, they will reach out to all the venues. Like, you tell them what you want and what you need and what your budgets are and stuff. They reach out to like a ton of venues, and because this is what they do, this is their job, is they book like conventions, they book like corporate meetups and corporate things and fandom things, all sorts of things. it's what they do all the time. So the hotels work closely with them. The hotels won't ignore their emails. And we did that. We reached out to this company and we told them, Orlando or Tampa, or we were even considering like doing a Sequestria Fest thing, picking somewhere like Lakeland or Ocala, which is out of the way, but it might have been really, really cheap, because we heard Sequestria Fest only pays like $500 to run their con.
Oh, goodness.
So we're like, if we can get something that cheap, then we'll do it. But they came back to us with a really good quote from the Wyndham. It was the best price on the sheet, and I was a little reluctant because of how low the price was. I was like, this must be a horrible place.
You had never been to the Wyndham before?
That was my first time was when I went there to check it out. That was when I first. I mean, I'm sure I drove by it a lot, but I just never you drive by things sometimes, you don't even look at it, right? And that was my first time actually there when I went to check it out. After Helms Briscoe told us about them, and I was impressed. I was like, this is really different. It's a really different venue. It's not a normal hotel. It's got a very different feel, and I kind of like that feeling. A lot of people did come back and feedback and say that was a really awesome. It was a differentiator for the con. Challenges though, I guess getting people together, working together as a team. We had some people that I talked about, the guy who first headed the con for a while. He had to leave after a while. He just couldn't do it because of life getting in the way. So, we had to find another leader. We had to get, technical issues. You got to figure out how to do some of the technical stuff, making websites and stuff. We had to figure out how to make a decent website and have it ready in time for our launch. We were being super secret about everything. Very secretive. We didn't announce anything until we had a contract signed with the venue. We were terrified because everyone on the board of directors basically came from the MLP board on 4chan. And there's this, we were all very frightened of being canceled and having them, people call up venues around us and say, oh, well, don't let these people in. They're horrible people. But that didn't happen, and we all kept it a secret until we announced. No one ever really called the venue to complain that I've heard of.
I called the venue. I'm going to admit this to you live here. I called the venue to make sure it was real.
I think a few people did.
Yeah, because yeah, that was your biggest thing. It was, you guys leaned so hard into the 4chan aspects of it and the memes that it looked like an elaborate troll to a lot of people. And even like some people that I was friends with were saying, oh, and if it's 4chan, even if it does happen, it's going to be really freaking weird. And we don't really want to mess with that. So yeah, I called the Wyndham, and I had to go through like 3 or 4 people before I could finally get someone on the phone to confirm, yes, this is an event that is actually happening and it's real. I'm like, okay, yeah, we got something to look forward to. Let's just hope it's not a pony thread simulator in real life.
And I think Amy went on Twitter and called it, this is right after we announced, and she called it a crypto scam or something. And luckily, at some point, our PR people and stuff were talking to someone at another convention beforehand, a couple of months after, and someone who knew Amy and they're like, oh, you know what, I should talk to her. I think I can get her to take the tweet down. And sure enough, she did when she realized that it wasn't a scam and it was real.
Yeah, why would she say it was a crypto scam? That was something that I had seen a couple of times. Like a few people were saying this is a crypto scam. And I have no idea where that came from or why they would.
I don't either, but Amy's one of the people that we've had issues with.
Yeah, I can tell you how that came about, Brony.
Please do.
I'm into cryptocurrency and I'm on the board of directors. I'm not in charge. Like I said, I'm the background. My official title for the convention is background pony in charge. The head pony in charge is actually in charge of it. He'd be like a con chair, right? I am the chair pony of the board of directors, but that's like those are just all the chair pony does just make sure meetings go smoothly. Um, so so I'm involved with the convention. I'm into cryptocurrency. I like the technical aspects of it. I was teaching myself how to code smart contracts, and I created Mare bits, which was like just a stupid token that has no meaning or utility behind it, unfortunately. And I just played around with this, and I have some projects up on my GitHub related to cryptocurrency. So I think people just searched my name. They heard I was involved with the convention, then they searched my name, and they brought those two together and said, this guy who's done cryptocurrency stuff, none of it is scam, by the way, is involved in this con. So that means the con is a crypto scam. And it's just like, I don't know. That's the best guess of how that came about. It's a lot of leaps of logic.
It's that inability to separate different aspects of what people do that just baffles me. Like I don't understand why that's such a concept that people have trouble wrapping their heads around, that sometimes people have multiple hobbies and things that they do.
Yeah.
It's like saying, oh, Brony works in construction, so anything he does is going to be construction related. The frick, I don't even like working in construction. Get me the frick out of it.
It's just a job, people.
Right.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I think that's probably the reason why is people did a search on my name, and they saw that I had stuff on my GitHub related to cryptocurrency.
Now, if I were to give you guys any critical feedback, it's like I understand why you went for an 18 plus sort of thing. I do still think that you would have had more people, which is, now that you tell me, you probably wouldn't. It probably wouldn't have been as good if too many people had showed up, but I think you would have gotten more people if it had been general audience and there was an 18 plus section, and that leaning that hard into the 4chan culture and 4chan memes put off a lot of people that it sort of made them nervous. Now the convention is behind us. Hopefully, especially in after this show, everybody can see it's not what everybody was afraid of. Shoot, I was the most nervous person about.
Yeah, we thought it was be like Rain First 2.0.
Well, I didn't. No, I didn't think that, but I was a little bit nervous, especially when I saw the con book, and I'm like, this is all just 4chan memes. But it turned out great, right? I went in with the most bias, and was proven wrong. So those are my two major critical feedback. So do you have any other like major challenges that you guys faced while you were setting things up?
No, I mean those are the biggest ones. Was finding the venue, technology, and then after we announced the reactions, we got from some people. There wasn't a whole lot of that, but there was a little bit of it, right? Just some vocal people.
Mm-hmm.
Once we started getting out there, going to conventions, like we started at HarmonyCon promoting the event. We did have complaints at HarmonyCon about our business cards. They were being taken down off of tables and stuff, because they had these tables where people were throwing just random business cards and little flyers and brochures and stuff. So we put some convention ones there. There were complaints about that, which wasn't really a big issue because we still got the word out about the con at HarmonyCon. We also went to BabsCon. We had a table at BabsCon where we were able to promote the convention last year. And once people talked to us and once they saw that we were real, we weren't just some meme
or a crypto scam.
Were actually, or a crypto scam. We were actually real. We were there. We're serious about it. We did an art pack. Like we started the art pack a little bit before we actually announced the con. And we took all that money and that helped us fund, the things. So we had already put money down on the hotel, when we signed the contract. We had money on the sort of, we were putting our money where our mouth was, right?
Yeah. So how did it go during the convention? Did you run into into anything crazy? You got any horror stories you can tell us?
Not so there were like nothing is perfect. There were problems. We were worried, right? As organizers, a lot of us were really worried, and I wasn't so worried because I know that 4chan, deservedly so, possibly, has a reputation, a negative reputation, which it's that reputation comes from a lot of the people who go there, and that doesn't mean all the people who go there are like that. It's kind of obviously we're being taught nowadays that judging a whole community based on the actions of a few people is not really the right thing to do, but people do it anyway. And some people were a little worried that the people would be too rambunctious. They would pull fire alarms, because that had just happened at TrotCon right before Mare Fair. There's a fire alarm pulled, or that people would do bomb threats or swattings or horrible things like that. And I was pretty confident because I met these people, like I said, a lot of them in other conventions, and I know that they're normal people who just like to have fun. They're not out there to cause destruction or drama, or not drama, at least not in the real life, right? Maybe online, but so I was pretty confident we won't have any majors, and we didn't have any major issues really. None of that stuff happened. We never even really had, like, the cops were never called on us. There were some other guests of the hotel cops were called on that were, like, adjacent a couple times, but that wasn't the con. And there was only one medical issue that happened the entire con. We did have an ambulance come once. Unfortunately, we had someone who was having issues with dehydration and some other stuff. But it was minor, they're okay.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Everything else went, I mean, there were issues with water, at the concert. We ran out of water a few times. We had to, like, do a lot of work to get new water jugs into the concert venue. But we kind of took every little issue as it came and tried our best to resolve it. There were a lot of little things that happened, but there's nothing major. And hopefully, as attendees, you guys didn't notice anything super major bad that happened either.
You guys were the duck floating on the pond. You're familiar with that analogy, yeah?
I don't think so, no.
So the duck floating on the pond, and when you look at a duck, and you see just the top half, right? And it looks like it's gliding smoothly along the water, or bobbing with the waves. What's going on beneath the surface? That duck is moving its feet.
Yep. Yeah, it was just like that, yeah.
So, that's what it looked like. And I could sort of tell that you guys were moving, because every time I saw you were moving faster than I would expect a man of your size to be able to move. So good on you for that too. So yeah, it was very impressive, especially for the size that it was. Now, let's talk a little bit more about Twitter, because people were saying some pretty crazy things about you guys, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on all that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Let me just cut you off for one quick second here. I did want to say that I have never been to a convention where there wasn't at least one medical emergency, and I have been to more conventions that had a fire alarm pulled than I have been to conventions that didn't have a fire alarm pulled, for reasons legitimate or illegitimate. So the fact that not as much happened, I think is really, you guys got a little bit lucky, but I'm sure there was an aspect of skill and organization to that. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
I think a lot of our attendees too, like I said, especially the ones who did come from 4chan, the more cognizant of trying to be cognizant of their actions and how they'd be viewed. I think they probably didn't want that sort of negative image being brought on the con, and I'm hopeful maybe that's part of the reason why nothing happened. But I think our attendees were just really great. Everyone, no matter where they came from or how they heard about us, were awesome. Everyone behaved really well, and one of the things we did hear uh, at the con constantly from the staff of the hotel was, your group of people are some of the friendliest people we've ever dealt with. Like, your group is one of the friendliest groups ever. All the interactions we have with them are always like, oh, please, thank you, yes, sir. Oh, sorry. It has never been anything standoffish or anything negative, and that made me feel pretty great too. That everyone was just chill. They were there to have fun, party, and that it was a positive environment. Mostly, hopefully, positive.
Indeed. So tell us about the Twitter drama.
Yeah. So I think some of this might have started during the charity auction. I don't really know where it came from, but I know at the charity auction, they kind of made a big deal as we got higher and higher, and oh, we beat that convention, we beat that convention. People were tweeting this, and I guess some people were getting mad, and I don't know. There just became all this drama, and we were a successful convention, and it kind of, you got to think of it holistically, right? In the beginning, there's everyone saying, well, it's a scam, it's not going to happen, or it's going to be so poorly managed, it's going to be a disaster.
People
And
were
then at the
getting
end of
on your
it,
case about not requiring masks or vaccines. I've seen a couple of tweets like that.
yeah,
People were saying you guys are racist. I saw people accusing you guys of transphobia,
mhm.
and it was weird.
There's also
I never saw
there
anybody
was
call
also
you guys homophobic, but I saw transphobic get thrown around a couple of times.
there was also an incident with a Nazi pony, if I remember correctly. There was someone claiming they were sexually assaulted.
Oh, that wasn't at the con. That was,
But it was
No, that
yeah, they were saying it was somebody who worked at the con.
no, it was a musician.
Musician.
And
Okay, so yeah, so
did that even happen though, or
I don't know.
I
That's a
don't think
personal.
that's our place to say. I think if something
Yeah,
happened, the police need to be involved and there needs to be an investigation, and I hope there's justice.
yeah.
That's all I can say about that. I don't think it's really our place to say much else right now, but yeah, those were some of the complaints that I was seeing on Twitter, and I wanted to know how much about all of that you knew about, and where you think it comes from, and what's your general response to it? Is any of it legitimate? We be totally honest here. So yeah, that's a whole lot of questions I just asked you. Take the floor, Corpulent.
hmm So a lot of it, I think, was sort of, I don't know where it came from. There's a lot of people just spreading uh, misinformation and or taking things out of context and making it seem like it's something it's not. I know before the convention, someone said that there was a I guess a relatively popular furry Twitter account tweeted out that they had been offered to perform at a new pony convention in Orlando, but they were only going to pay them in cryptocurrency or something like that, and that probably helped with the crypto scam thing. And we're like, who's this person? Why would we want a furry musician at our PonyCon? This isn't us. We don't know what you guys are talking about.
Mm.
But I did see a lot of weird, and that's an example, right, of just complete lies. We're like, what? Um, some of it is real. Like, let's see. One of the things you mentioned was the Ariane plush, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
That, yeah, there was, our rule was basically, we didn't want, again, we didn't want any political symbolism. So we asked that obviously something, especially something as divisive and such a negative connotation as like swastikas and stuff, we're like, we don't really want that in the convention space. But if you have a plushie of Ariane, as long as none of that is being shown, and as long as you're respectful and everything, then it's okay. But
I did notice
You're
that.
gonna-
I did notice that Arian had and this, just so everybody knows, this was a 36-inch Arian plushie. It was huge, and if anybody doesn't know what Arian is, it's a Nazi pony OC that somebody on 4chan made up years ago. It's got blonde hair and blue eyes, and it has a Nazi swastika inside of a heart as a cutie mark. And yeah, this person was walking around with this giant plushie, but they had veiled the cutie mark.
Yeah, and so there's a lot to go. So Ariane was one of 4 OCs that were created like at the same time, and they were. You've seen the meme of the political graph, right, with the 4 corners.
Yeah.
Like there was laissez-faire, or I think it was called laissez-faire was the name of the OC, and there was a one for capitalism. I forget her name. Then there was an anarchist OC pony. None of them really caught on like Ariane did, but it wasn't really created to like glorify a particular ideology. It was just about that political compass, right? That's where the meme came from. That's where the character came from. Yeah, so that's the pony, and the maker of that pony is actually one of the more well-known plush makers in the fandom. They make beautiful plushies, right? And this guy bought this plush quite a few years ago. He was really proud of it. He really wanted to show it off, and he knew that there would be people there who would appreciate it. So he asked permission, and that's when I told him, listen, we don't want anything political. So if you bring it, people who know what it is, right, are going to recognize it and know what it is. But if everything's covered up and you're not showing anything that could be, what's the word? That could offend anyone, right? Yeah. Then it's okay. And he actually drove like an hour and a half up and then an hour and a half back to go get it.
That's insane.
Because he's proud of this. He loves it. People love their plushies. I mean, I'm a plushie guy. I only have Twilight Sparkle plushies, but
You did give me some new information on the origin of Ariane, because I always thought Ariane was just 4chaners being edgelords.
Trolls?
Yeah.
No, it was about the 4. I could show you afterwards the image. I think one of the first images with her in it.
Yeah, so this is, as long as I've been in the fandom, that's news to me. So I'm glad I learned about that. But yeah, I think what I was seeing on Twitter is just like the existence of this OC, much less that there's a plush, much less that we're allowed to walk around with this plush at a convention. It means everybody there must be a Nazi.
Yeah, and the guy who brought it, he said he'd never had so much attention at anywhere. This was his first pony convention, by the way. This was a lot of people's first pony convention.
Well, you brought the thing that's going to attract the most attention to the place where it would attract the most attention. So,
and he said all the interactions were positive. He said he had people coming up to him everywhere, just all sorts of people being very positive about the pony, and even people who aren't necessarily from 4chan and just saying, "Oh wow, that's a really beautiful pony" and everything. I don't know. Like he said, he didn't really have anyone coming up saying, "Oh, this kind of offends me." I think he said he maybe had 1 or 2 people, but that was it. He said the majority, like most everyone, was just really positive about it. And I don't know. I mean, it's not something I would do. But again, we just wanted to be a bit of more open and welcoming to everyone. If someone would have come in, the name of the communist pony is Veronica with a K. If someone had come in with the Veronica plushie, it would have been the same rule. Just keep the cutie mark covered because it's a, sickle and hammer, and we're fine. But,
well, just curious, what color is Veronica?
She's like red, obviously, and gray. I think like a dark gray.
I feel like I've seen her before, but yeah, most of my interaction with 4chan was been like in the early days of the fandom, like 2011 to 2012, and as I was really getting involved with the fandom itself, pony thread simulators were incredibly popular at the time, and that was like, oh my god, too much for my Christian sensibilities. And after that, I just like, okay, so yeah, that 4chan is where people go to just be their worst self. And that was my impression. And after that, I just sort of focused on making videos and fan fictions.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people there who do that, right? Who go there and they just are horrible people. But there are a lot of people who are sincere and want to do awesome things for the fandom, and they congregate there sometimes. So
yeah, and the question always is, how much of it is genuine? And to these, how much of it is genuine? How much crossover is there? Are these people posting these horrible things online, ironically or unironically? Does it even matter? And then do they come to the convention, and are they being their genuine selves between online? And we'll never know the answer to these questions. That is between these people and God.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts on that. What else are you gonna say?
Other things from Twitter I can remember. The only other thing I remember that was real, that was posted, was something happened apparently Sunday. I think it was Sunday night after the convention was over. Some people out by the pool. I don't know if you guys know about Habbo Hotel or anything, but there are a lot of memes surrounding Habbo Hotel and pool,
I know. I think I know what
pool closed and all that.
I'm afraid I don't know.
It's kind of like an old game, and people would like try to block. I don't know. They would try to close the pool down in this little game and do funny things, and they would make shapes with the a lot of people would come on and they make shapes with their avatars, as they move around the map. They make shapes of like swastikas and things. And apparently some people thought it'd be funny to like lay down on the ground by the pool and do like a similar type of thing using their bodies to make a shape of a swastika. And this was tweeted out. It happened after the convention. It happened by the pool, which wasn't in convention space. As far as I can tell, I guess I only know the people involved were at the con because some people saw them doing this, right? I was nowhere nearby, so I didn't even see it go down. A lot of the people who did see it were telling them this is a really bad idea. Don't do this. This is stupid. But they did it anyway.
The other thing, too, is that some people will just do this just to get people pissed off on Twitter.
Yeah, for sure.
And, I'm not saying that, I'm not forgiving the people who decide to make that symbol, but guys, you're the ones who are reacting to it. You're doing exactly what they wanted you to do.
It's a two-way, it's a double-edged sword of don't feed the trolls, but also just because I'm a free speech absolutist. I tell all kinds of jokes myself. I get it, but it's not funny. And just because you can doesn't mean you necessarily should. Yeah. You follow what I'm saying, Corpulent?
Yeah. I would definitely not have done something like that. And I probably would have advised them not to do it either. This would be a bad idea. It's going to make you look bad, and it's going to make everyone here look bad. So,
yeah.
But, they did what they wanted to do. And that was real, right? As far as I know, that would actually happen at the con. That and the Ariane plush, which again, we didn't get any complaints at the con about the Ariane plush. I did get, I think, 1 or 2 complaints after the con from people who said the Ariane plush did make them uncomfortable. I do want to acknowledge that. And those 2 things actually happened. Now, there's a third one that I'm still not sure happened or not. And that was apparently someone. Okay. Yeah, that's right. So I'm pretty sure this happened. I don't have firsthand knowledge, but at one of the panels, I think it was the Wet Brain panel, Anand the Anand. Do you guys know who that is?
Yeah, he's an animator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's an animator. He's an artist. He's from Italy. He was up there saying something. I think he said something about Starlight Glimmer or something. And then someone in the audience, one person in the audience stood up and yelled out, like, lynch him. And they were saying that because of what he said, right? And that turned into on Twitter, I think Brony alluded to this before we started recording. It turned into like this thing of everyone's in the hallway just chanting out, lynch him, lynch him. It's like, no, this is one guy in the audience stood up and did that. And then immediately afterwards, he's like, oh shit, sorry, oh crap, I shouldn't have said that. it was one guy, right, who had one little faux pas, and that did happen. And then apparently too, someone did the salute at one of Jay Haller's panels, supposedly. Again, I don't have confirmation of this. Like one audience member got up at some point for some reason, I don't even know the context, and just did like the I forget what you call it. There's a term for the imperial salute, like they used to the Roman one that became a thing in Nazi Germany. Yeah.
Kyle?
Yeah. So we have incidences, right, with single individuals, but that's it. And there was no like rampant racism. There was no rampant transphobia or homophobia that I saw. Most of our board of directors, like half of them are gay themselves. We're very welcoming. We wanted to be inclusive to everyone, no matter their race or gender or whatever. We had transgendered individuals on our staff as volunteers. You know, we had a lot of them in the audience. We had a lot of attendees of all sorts of backgrounds, and I feel like we did our best to make everyone feel welcome. And I feel like for the most part, I think 99% of the way we were able to accomplish that goal.
Cruiser,
yeah, that really baffled me when I saw. Well, that just really baffled me when I saw people saying that they were that Mare Fair was transphobic. I'm like, there were trans people there. Okay, I just got back from there.
Yeah.
I mean, like, do you guys even know what you're talking about, or do you just want attention?
It could go either way, but it is weird. I will say it is kind of weird that at just about every other convention, there's none of this stuff. None of this, none of these Nazi references, and then at your convention, there's 5.
There's none. Wait, there's none of Nazi references.
You don't see Ariane at other conventions. You don't see people doing Zig Heil at other conventions. You don't see people. I've never seen somebody yell anything about lynching at another convention, and then you get a convention like this, and suddenly there's a whole bunch of these instances.
It's not. It happens at other cons though. Like I've been to other cons. There are Ariane people bring their Ariane plushies to the cons all the time. They don't maybe display them as openly, but they're there and they're carrying them on them, and they probably have the head sticking out of their bag or something. That's common. I saw that at HarmonyCon last year.
Oh yeah, and if you're not paying attention, Ariane might look like Derpy.
Yeah, especially if it's not a bright room. And not only that, but there's a really famous photo of BabsCon from I think 2016 of the cosplayer for Starlight Glimmer who won. I think he won the cosplay contest, doing the Sieg Heil on stage as he won the cosplay contest. So it's not abnormal. It's actually, it's not normal to have a bunch of people doing it, right? But to have, the few incidences we had, especially given a lot of where our audience came from, I don't think that was too bad. And I don't think there were, like I said, there were maybe a handful of people offended, but of the 525 people, I'm pretty sure most of them didn't see anything or experience anything, I hope, that was super offensive. And for the few that did, I feel bad about that. And the people who have come up to me, I've just, expressed that to them, I hope.
Okay.
And I understand, we can't please everyone, as much as you want to try.
Yeah. So let's, let me see. There was one, I feel like there was one other thing I wanted to ask.
I think it was why was it 18 plus?
Well, we did go over that. So I can't remember what else I wanted to address. Maybe it'll come back to me, but it's ultimately not that important. Let's talk about the future. I'm not going to make you announce anything right now, but are you guys trying for a second event?
I think the feedback we got was overwhelmingly positive, and everyone, it overwhelmed me, to be honest. Like, I'm not saying that because people say it's overwhelming. Like, I literally was a bit overwhelmed with how many people were so positive about everything. Like, I really, I know I tried my best, and a lot of most of the people on our team, they all tried their best. And to be have people say, "Oh wow, this is so awesome," and I want to come back. Like I want there to be a second one. That's the thing I heard constantly, especially on Sunday. Like
Did
after the
you, by any chance, get any feedback of people saying that they were sick and tired of all the rules and restrictions of the major pony cons?
not a whole lot. Um,
But there were some.
there is some. Like I said, I think something like 30%. I have to go back to that survey, but 30% of the people who answered our survey, this was their first ever pony convention, and a lot of them were people who got into the fandom after COVID and
Hmm.
just hadn't found a convention where they felt comfortable enough to go to, either because of the vaccine restrictions or masking restrictions or a combination of that and geographical restrictions. They just were looking for a PonyCon where they felt comfortable to go to, and this was the first one. And a lot of them too were people who um, just maybe for the political reasons, like you said, of coming into the fandom later on and having this different political climate in the pony fandom that didn't exist really in the early days,
Hmm.
and being turned off by that. But then they saw this as an opportunity to reach out and meet some friends that they'd met online in the fandom, meet them in real life, and have fun in real life. And so no, not I don't think so. I don't think it was a negative. There was anything really negative with it. Uh, but everyone seemed really happy with the con, and I think even the people who worked on it, our team, they all seemed really happy about it and excited to do another Mare Fair. Um, so, we're obviously looking at it, and we can't make an announcement yet. And but when we can, I'm sure you'll hear about it if we do another one.
Going forward, if you guys do another one, would you keep things the same or would you try to upgrade, knowing that, now that you've proven yourself, you'll probably get more people? Like, do you think you'll pull in more guests from the fandom, any guests from the show, have a bigger space, anything like that?
Yeah. I can say for the venue space, we probably would look at more room because we did get a lot of it's all like anecdotal, but there were a lot of people who said, I wanted to go to this one, but for reason XYZ I wasn't able to, but I'm going to the next one. And everyone else is like, well, I came to this one, I'm coming back. So we do think if we do another one, we'd have an increase in attendance, and we'd want to have a bigger space to handle that. So we are looking, if we were to do another one, we'd be probably looking at a larger space. And uh, I'm sorry, what was the other question? There was another part of that, wasn't
Uh,
there?
are you gonna get more guests from the
Oh, that's right.
fandom or any guests from the show?
So one of the things, as you guys probably noticed, that we did that's different than other cons, right? And I didn't mention this either. What at the beginning, reasons for doing Mare Fair. One of them was being more focused not only on ponies, like I said in the beginning, but also on the community, right? And being more focused on friends and friendships and friend groups. And a lot of these conventions have become kind of hang out with your friends. As time has gone on, I find I hardly ever go to panels at cons because I'm spending all my time doing stuff with my friends. I'll go to a panel if everyone else is going. But usually we're just hanging out. We're going out to do this, or we're doing, you know, whatever in the con space, right? And it's kind of a great opportunity. I feel like a lot of people use that as a good opportunity to get together and meet up with people who they haven't seen in a while in person, but they might hang out with a lot online. And because of that, we decided, especially as a first year, not to really pursue heavily any sort of like guests of honor. So we didn't have any fandom guests, and another reason for that is money. Being conservative about the money, not wanting to spend a lot, trying to keep things um, low key as possible while still putting on a good event. So we didn't have any fandom guests because that's one of the most expensive parts of a con today. A lot of these cons will spend easily, mid five figures on community guests, like 30, $40,000 total. That's a lot of money. Like that's more than what we spent on the venue by a factor of like
Community
two or
guests or guests from the show, you'll spend that kind of
show
money.
guests. Show guests.
Okay.
Um, community guests can be really cheap. Like some community guests, all they want is just a free badge. The few times I've been a community guest, that's all I ever asked for. Some community guests are like, well, maybe you can give me a free hotel room, maybe, or maybe a free badge, or maybe some travel stipends or something. And some community guests, like people like Saber Spark or AC Race Best or them, they could be pretty expensive to get because they're a lot bigger name, right? And we felt like we just wanted to give people that venue to hang out together, and we weren't really focused on a lot of community guests. We had a lot of people there who are really well-known artists. There were a lot of artists there, like Jargon Scott, Anon the Anon, MCOG Wheel came all the way from New Zealand.
Whoa.
I was seeing a lot of TJ Pones art there. Was he there?
TJ Pone. Yes, he was there. TJ Pones was there, yep. I'm trying to think here. I know I'm probably leaving people off, and I feel bad about it, but
I do remember.
And then there are some people there who are going like incognito, and I guess some of them don't even want me to mention their name now, so I won't mention it. But there were some really famous artists and stuff there who just didn't want anyone to know they were there for whatever reason.
Well, maybe they weren't sure how it was going to turn out, right? Because that was I'm going to be honest, that was a concern I had. I hope this turns out good. Right, because it's gonna look real bad if it doesn't. But it turned out really good. I do remember what I wanted to ask you is, did you guys work with the Brony community at large, or the convention community at large? Did you get any help from the conventions? Did you from other conventions? Did you talk with the people that run other conventions? What was that like, if you did any work with them?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a really good question. We actually did. None of us involved in planning the convention really had, between us, we didn't have a ton of experience actually running a real life convention. My experience with it was basically being an attendee and running an online convention. That's it. Okay, that's hardly anything. The guy in charge, the head pony in charge, he has some sort of management level experience at Anime Expo in LA, which is a really large anime convention, so that was useful. But he was like middle management. That's a huge convention, like 100,000 plus people. At the middle management, you don't really know how to run everything. And then we had a little bit of smattering here and there, but what we really needed, right, was that experience. So we first approached the chair of Vancouver Pony Expo, because he's a friend of mine from another community in the fandom, and asked him a lot of questions starting up, because he's always willing to help out people, and he gave us some good advice. I mentioned we approached someone who ran like furry cons and stuff in Nevada, and he gave us some good advice. And then we went to we actually had some friends in TrockCon 22 that we met up with, and I'm like, you know what? I forgot about these people. These are really smart people who really know a lot about doing different things in conventions. Like Stefan Winter, I'm like, he knows how to run vendor halls. I've talked to him and known him online for since 2016 or something, 2017. So I knew he knew what he was doing. He's the busy guy we talked about earlier and before the show, and he is an expert at this. And I'm like, I want him to be on the team because he knows how to do this. And I reached out to him, and guess what? He had just decided to become last year the chair of BabsCon.
Okay.
So, we have the chair of BabsCon on our staff running our vendor hall. We have the vice chair of BabsCon running our operations team. We had a former chair of BabsCon also on the operations team, and we had some other people from BabsCon as well on our team, and that kind of there became this meeting place of, oh wow, all these people from BabsCon all of a sudden, they decided to bail them out because Babs was in a bad spot last year, and they're willing to help us out too. So it was a good meeting, and they were able to provide some advice. But I feel like still, us at the director level and everything, we had a different way of looking at things, and we might have rubbed some people. I wanted to listen to everyone's advice, especially people with experience, because people who have done it in the past, right? That's a good place to go to get advice, right?
Indeed.
But still, there were things we wanted to do differently, and sometimes we didn't do exactly what they wanted us to do, and sometimes they give us some really helpful advice, and it helped us be better. So I feel like we did a good. I think we're different than other cons, but at the same time, hopefully everyone had a good time. And
that's really all that matters at a convention. But you would say that, even though you were taking all of this flack and people making all of these political or scam accusations at you, that the convention community at large was receptive to you?
I don't know if I'd say that.
No.
I mean, we did have. I didn't go to Sequestria Fest last year, but we had the head pony in charge was there with our head of PR, and I guess they met up at one point with the con chair of Sequestria Fest and talked to them a little bit. But I also know we have someone on our staff from Austria, and he talked to some of the people at Galacon, the chair, I think, there. Some of the cons have been a little bit more supportive. Some of them just don't really like us at all. I don't think TriCon, I don't think we're ever going to have a relationship with them. Possibly not even with the FNW, unfortunately. But we're close with BabsCon, HarmonyCon, and we seem to be on good terms with. We don't really talk a whole lot with them, though. Most of our relationship has been with BabsCon, to be honest, and a little bit with Van Hoover.
Which is surprising.
Yeah,
indeed.
Like I said, last year BabsCon changed. Like, at least all their executive staff is all different now, and you might find it a little bit better than it was, but the directors are still the same.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, that's that hopefully, like I'm going to keep saying this too. Hopefully, you guys have proven yourselves now, and things will get better from here. I'm certainly hoping for more events, especially because I don't have to travel for them, and something I'd like to see, if you guys do it again, would be a dedicated tabletop gaming room, and or maybe even a dedicated video gaming room, because just about every other convention has it, and I think it adds a lot to the convention for people to have a place to go to play games. Let's see here.
I want to talk about that with you afterwards.
Okay. So, one more thing I wanted to bring up before we start wrapping up here is you guys, as far as I could see, did very little marketing, which was one of the things that sort of made me a little nervous leading up to that, is that you've got a first-year convention, which I know a good number of people that don't go to first-year conventions on principle because of how many first-year conventions turn out to be really bad and then don't get another one, and they just feel like they wasted their money.
Yeah.
So, and then you've got every other aspect that we're raising red flags for people that we've talked about so far on the stream. How come you guys didn't do very much marketing? How come I wasn't seeing you guys on like Equestria Daily or a very active like social media presence and things? So I'm curious about that.
Okay.
Or was there a whole secret marketing campaign that I just totally missed because I wasn't in that circle?
No, it's funny you mentioned Equestria Daily. That's funny.
I saw you guys on there once.
Where did you see us at?
On Equestria Daily when you guys announced, and then that was it.
Yeah. So I don't know. Sethisto like Mare Fair. I think he liked the concept and everything. When we announced, he put up a story about it, and then someone else at Equestria Daily didn't like that, and they deleted the story. So there was another story put up after the con that also I think was deleted. It's disappointing. There's some people in the fandom again who don't like uh, either that we're in an 18 plus event. They don't like that, or they don't like that the the where a lot of the planners came from, right? Like I hope it didn't. We're trying not to be like focused on a particular segment of the fandom. We just wanted it to be all fandom. But yeah, there was a large population from 4chan there, and they don't like that. So for one reason or other, they don't really want to give us that sort of coverage, which is okay. I think I published a story on Horse News for it, but Horse News is basically dead. Um, we have a Twitter account, but our PR team, I don't know, they didn't do an awesome job of keeping that up to date and keeping on top of it. Um, so we got some different people. If we were to do another year, we'd probably have some different people involved. Um, but we got to a point in our badge sales, right, where we started to feel really comfortable. And like I said, we were expecting 250 to 350. And once we saw that we were actually going to beat our expectations, I was like, let's dial it down a little. We still did some like viral marketing. Like, um, I don't know if
The
you
thing
ever
in Times
saw it.
Square.
Yeah, there's a thing in Times Square where they bought. We didn't even pay for it. Just someone else who's a supporter of the convention is like, I'm going to pay for this. You guys put together an ad. I'll pay for it to put up in Times Square. And that obviously we weren't trying to get people in Times Square interested. It was so we could record it being played in Times Square and then post it and be like, hey, look. And then the other thing we did was our PR guy was amazingly funny. He worked with the Rhode Island Department of Transportation for one of their Clean Roads project and put up a Mare Fair. He volunteered to clean the road in front of Hasbro headquarters, and they put up a sign, thanking Mare Fair right in front of Hasbro headquarters for it. So they did that, but a lot of the PR work I mentioned earlier was in person, boots on the ground at conventions, talking to people who go to conventions, talking to the vendors at the conventions, talking to the musicians at the conventions, being like, hey, we're here, we're real, we're in person, this is a serious thing. If you want to be involved, please, you're welcome to be involved. And that's where a lot of the marketing was. And it might have been why you didn't see it as much online. I don't know going into next year if it's going to, if there's another year, if that's going to change or not. So
If you do another year and you want more people, I would highly recommend a bigger online presence. Cruiser, is there anything else you wanted to tackle?
Yeah, what were you looking for when it came to panels and programming? Because one thing that I've noticed is that, no offense to some of the bigger community guests that Everfree and BabsCon get, but they tend to get the same guests over and over again, and they do the same show over and over again. Like, whose
yeah,
line is it anyway? Or Brony's React. And they definitely have earned their spot in the fan. I'm not dissing that, but I feel like we need to elevate new names to carry the scene on. And a lot of these people don't even make pony content anymore.
I agree with you so much. Like that is we like the people who help. A lot of the organizers have that same sentiment. We didn't really like. It's fine, but it does get boring to see the same thing over and over and over again and the same guests. So we we're trying to look for different things, and a lot of the people, and I hate to go back to it again, but a lot of people from the board from 4chan wanted to do things. They had these ideas and maybe they didn't feel comfortable doing it at other conventions, and they, or maybe they've submitted to other conventions. I know we had vendors in our vendor hall, like the guy selling all the big plushies and the guy selling the soap. They tried to get tables at other cons and just got rejected. I don't know why, whatever reason, but they both came from 4chan and they both uh, we're like, yeah, I mean, you guys are definitely what we want. You're selling pony related products, quality pony related products, and that's what we want in our vendor hall. And the same with the panelists. Like, they just came out of the woodwork. These people who had these ideas, they're like, a lot of them were like, I'm kind of nervous. I've never done anything like this before. Some of these people, this is their first con, and they're getting up there and doing a panel at their first convention, you know?
Yeah,
And
because the one that I did at Mare Fair was my show Hoof Rock, where I reviewed the songs of the show, and in this case, I want to review the movie soundtrack live, and I got turned down by other pony cons. I'm thinking, wait, but not a lot of people are reviewing the music here. Why can't you give me a chance to do something here? But I
yeah,
just kept getting rejected.
that's part of the reason why I think you got approved, was because it was that panel was unique. It was different. There was no other panels that we had submitted that had anything to do with like reviewing music. So we're like, yeah, yeah, that's something we want, right? Like, we want
Appreciate
to
it.
have different things, and I think the scheduling guy who did the approvals and rejections, I think he did a good job. He's actually the same guy who runs scheduling for BabsCon. Again,
No,
yeah.
because I get that some people have aged out of the show, they moved on. That's totally fine. I'm not giving them a hard time about that. But if we want the scene to keep going, then we have to promote new names.
Yeah, definitely.
That's just all there is to it. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
agree.
Anything else we want to tackle before we get into the comments here?
Not that I can discuss on air. I'll wait to speak to Corpulent afterwards.
Indeed. All right, so I've covered everything else. Corp, is there anything that you want to tackle for your own sake before we get into the comments?
Not that I can think of. I think I feel like I got most of it out. Yeah, I think I'm good to keep. We can keep going with the comments from the chat, right?
Yeah. So we've been running for a good hour and a half here. We've got a pretty good number of comments. Towards the beginning here, we got Paladin Pony T says, Brony, I can't remember. How do you know Corpulent? So Corpulent and I met while we were both doing analysis, and we were sort of running in that circle, and we did a couple of videos together. We did a Buck to the Face, and we did a debate analyzing the dreams that were seen in Do Princesses Dream of Magic Sheep, and that's also the episode of A Buck to the Face we did together. And then we just sort of fell out of contact, and I honestly have no idea why or how, but I was very excited to learn he was on staff for and helping run the show at Mare Fair. So it's good to link back up.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, does that sound about accurate, or did I miss anything important, or did I make something up? Does that sound about right to you, Corp?
Yeah, it sounds right. And plus, we used to run into each other at Grand Brony Gala. Remember?
Yep, we're both.
I ran into
Florida
Joey O.
men.
Did you run into Joey O?
Yeah, he's out in Tampa.
Yeah, he came to Mare Fair as well a little bit.
Oh, I didn't see him at Mare Fair, but
yeah, well, he was only able to come Saturday night for a while, for a few hours, but
oh, okay, yeah.
I ran into him and said, "Oh yeah, I know you from like Grand Brony Gala. Like, I haven't seen you since then."
Yeah. Let's see here. Calbeck says this also happened to the furry fandom. And he's talking about like people from outside of the Brony fandom coming into the conventions. This also happened to the furry fandom when we started getting people showing up who knew nothing about furries but wanted to bring their politics, causes, and unrelated stuff in. So let's see here. Rusty Heraldy says, we deal with politics almost on a daily basis. It's nice to have a politics-free zone once in a while. And and that's roughly what I'm trying to do is, with my show, I want people to be to learn how to get along despite our differences and learn from each other and grow as people through each other. But when I go to a convention, I'm just there to be among friends. It cannot be about politics. And even if like it was about politics, okay, now I guarantee you every convention is going to die because you're going to, two things are going to happen. The first thing that's going to happen is you're going to cut half of your attendance, because even though conservatives are not very vocal in the Brony fandom, I promise you there are way more conservatives than you think there are, and you've got to learn.
Confirm.
You've got to learn to get along with people that don't think exactly like you. And the second thing that's going to happen is you're going to throw your community into something that's called a purity spiral, where if you're policing people based on their views, then basically, anyone that's not exactly lockstep with everything that you believe, is you're going to ban that one. You're going to have more and more rules, and it's going to be hard. And then people go there, and you're only going to get the type of people that are interested in policing everyone else's behavior. And it's just going to become a tattletale fest, and it's not a convention anymore after that. It cannot be about politics. Just let it, and whether or not that, my politics agree or disagree with the con chairs or anybody else going there. I'm not at a convention for politics. I'm there to hang out with friends. And if I'm running a panel, I'm there to teach. Usually I do a Brony debates panel where it's just about, hey, here's how we talk to each other about things and learn how to disagree and understand that it's not that big of a deal. And we get some fun practice in by talking about ponies. So even then, it's not really about politics. And then my other one is a health-related panel, which, by the way, that one's live. Go watch it on my channel after the stream. Cruiser, I know you have your video of your panel. You got to get that online sometime soon.
Oh, that's coming next week. So that's when Evan's going to be back.
Yeah, so go subscribe to Cruiser so you can see his panel. Please. His panel.
You get me to 1,000 subscribers, I will take the one chip challenge.
The one chip challenge, he says. All right. Trent says, is a health and fitness panel coming after the debate? Oh, thank you. Yes, it is on my channel right now. I've linked it in the chat. I've linked it in the description. Check it out after the show. Trent also says, I hate crypto. Corpulent, what do you say to that?
I can understand the a lot of people share that opinion. For me, I like it, but I don't think it's the end all be all. I don't think people should go to it thinking they're going to make a ton of money. I went to it mostly because it's interesting technology. Back in the day it was new. I've been into it for a long time.
Hey, at least it's not NFTs.
They're very closely tied, aren't they?
NFTs are, I could talk about this for a while. I don't want to bore anyone, but crypto is really interesting to me, right? And it's cool. I like it. I like a lot of the concepts it brings about. I like a lot of the technology involved, and then the software and how they do things. It's unique. It's not anything that had really been done until, Bitcoin, especially Ethereum. Like, I was early days Ethereum. I made a little bit of money on that stuff because I've been into it for a while. But I think people try to see it for more than it is, and I can understand that a lot of times that's where it comes from. Plus, at the height of things, there were a lot of crypto memes and a lot of crypto things, and I think people got sick and tired of it, kind of how people didn't like ponies because ponies were being posted everywhere. Maybe that has something to do with it.
And maybe you could educate me, and we used to have another guy on the show. His name was Cordero, and he was a fan of crypto as well, but he's not around anymore.
Sadly.
So hopefully you can educate me, but I'm just not a fan of fiat currencies. I'm the we need to go back to the gold standard dude, which is, as far as I understand, the opposite of crypto.
In a way, because crypto, like, I get the gold standard, and crypto though is like that, but it's digital, and theoretically, if every computer that has a copy of a crypto ledger went down, you'd lose it all, which is not nearly as good as, I guess, having actual gold. And I do have a lot of silver, and I've got gold backs and stuff. I'd like to collect that. I've been doing that for a long time too.
All right. So Nathan Dwazo says, Brony, tell Corpulent I said hello and that it's nice to meet him.
Hello, Nathan. Nice to meet you.
Placeholder wants to know if you got any serious threats. I think we answered that.
I don't think so.
No, nothing. I don't. No, we didn't get anything serious. We had nothing really to talk of, actually. No.
Dreamer Frost says, "Hey, Brony, have you ever had a fire alarm pulled due to costume malfunctions?" So, the odds of a costume snagging on a fire alarm and pulling it by accident, if that's what you're asking me, are next to nil. Those things are usually behind some kind of barrier. And what are you doing? You know, what kind of crazy sentient venom costume are you wearing that's like reaching out for fire alarms that you should be passing several feet around instead? No, every time a fire alarm gets pulled, it's on purpose. So I've no idea how that would even happen. Placeholder.
I've never pulled one, but I hear that they're really hard to pull too. It takes some effort.
Like I said, I've been to more conventions that have had a fire alarm pulled than I've been to conventions that did not have a fire alarm pulled. And I've never had been to a convention that didn't have police and or ambulance get called.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Placeholder says, question, were pride symbols allowed? So let me say this real quick. I didn't see any, but sometimes people were wearing one like as a patch, and there were a couple of vendors that were selling pride related merch. Corp, do you want to comment on that one?
I think it would have been kind of a case by case, right? Like if someone was really out there, if they had like a big flag and stuff, we probably would have asked them not to do that. But you know, people with patches or little things like that, generally people aren't really going to be offended by anything like that. And with something like that, you're just kind of expressing yourself versus having something really large like a sign, a flag, or something political like that, or
People
anything
wearing the
slightly
flag
political.
as a cape like I see at every other convention these days.
Maybe something like that. Like that, you're becoming more than just like expressing just a little bit of a political, like a tiny little part of you, and it's becoming more of I want this to become something that I'm like spreading around the con and making it about politics. And that's where we start to go into places where it's like crossing that line into like you're starting to be more political than you are like not political. And but again, there was no hard and fast rule. The rule was basically nothing political related, and it would have been up to our operations team primarily to police that. So I didn't get a report of anyone complaining about any of that. I didn't get reports about anyone complaining about anything actually, like that type of thing, like political symbology. So until after the con on Twitter and stuff that we've already talked about.
So are you gonna, just totally curious, are you gonna let people walk around with a giant Ariane plush next year?
Well, it's not really like my decision to make as a single individual. I don't see why not. Again, like, keeping those same rules in place that we had this year. I probably, if it becomes an issue, if it becomes like, you know, if people are actually coming to us at the con and they're saying this is making me really uncomfortable, we'd probably have to think about at that point in time addressing it. But I don't see that happening necessarily, and it probably would be allowed as long as they're being respectful, like I said, and they're not, you know, trying to make people uncomfortable by doing things like physically doing stuff to bother someone else, like following them around or trying to do stuff like that, you know.
Yeah. Placeholder says, I wish that his referring to Anon the Anons animation panel was recorded. So do I, because I wasn't able to make it to that one. That was one of the few ones I was sort of interested in.
So it probably is. I just got like, this is why you said you didn't think what your question was recorded. We had cameras set up in all the panel rooms except that little room that was open with all the other tables, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you went to any panels there. That one had no AV, but all the other rooms had AV in them. And we had a camera running, I think, for every panel. I think on day one, we might not have audio on some of that, but we have a volunteer staff member that came on board after the convention, whose entire job is going to be putting all that together and seeing what we have. And there might be video of it, but when on the Anon's panel, unfortunately, there was an issue where it was next to the concert during the concert.
Oh.
Yeah, so that there might be some audio issues with that, but we'll have to see and look at that panel, and what we can, we'll try to upload when we get all that situated. I mean, we've got literally, three panel rooms times however many hours there were panels in them. It's a lot of hours of video to go through.
I bet. Let's see here. Cruiser, Anon the Anon. Remember when we had that debate with Peter New about racism in the fandom? Part of what sparked that debate was a piece of art that Anon the Anon made. And it was, it was the one where Applejack was overseeing her orchard, which was being worked predominantly by zebras. Right, that was him. He makes some weird stuff sometimes, but he's probably the fandom's best animator.
And again, I think the whole reason why sometimes they make art like that is just to get you pissed off. I'm like, guys, just shut up. That's all you have to do.
Which is what I spent an hour trying to get Peter to understand, was that it's a troll, and sometimes people make those things. You don't have to find it funny. It doesn't mean there's a racism epidemic in the fandom. Let's see here. Let me see. Half Random and Crazy Productions says, we need to make a convention with Brony Buck as the main headline. Absolutely the frick not. Nobody would show up. I've got 11,000 subscribers. My channel is all but dead. I need to get back to making real freaking content, and people don't like me politically. I did get one invitation to be a community guest from Pony Expo last year.
Oh, dear Lord.
And then they got one complaint, and I do mean literally one complaint, about the COVID policies are retarded tweet from one dude that wasn't even going to the convention. And he's, so what the frick? And they canned me, but they wasted their money. I couldn't get their. They were nice enough to give me a travel stipend that I had asked for, because I couldn't afford to just do it by myself. I said I would love to come, but this is my financial situation. So if you want me, I need you to cover my travel. So I wasn't able to get that money back. So they're not getting that money. So they didn't get that money back, and that's how it goes. If you don't want to lose your money, don't be a jerk.
But I lost money though, because they invited me along with you, and I had to pay for my ticket, and they canceled me right after you.
Yeah, that was what they did, because that guy, and I can't stress this enough, this Neville guy, who is not exactly an upstanding citizen himself, complained about the tweet that I made. Oh, and he also complained about a joke I made literally 5 years prior about, and it was just something completely unrelated. It was like a complete joke with a political, I don't even remember what it was. Complained about those two things, and he's like, you guys need to cancel Brony. This is why I hate you guys, and I'm not coming to your convention, right? One of many reasons. That nobody even freaking liked this guy. I still have no idea why they took him seriously. This Neville dude. And then they're like, okay, we decided to cancel Brony. And then he tweets on that, back on them, you got to cancel Cruiser too. And they're like, okay, so we canceled Cruiser too. Why the frick are we listening to this guy? Nobody likes him. He's not even going. I'm still salty about it. Yeah.
And then what was worse is that a guy who we thought was our friend, Looney Turtle, threw us under the bus.
Yeah, well, Looney is not as smart as we initially thought he was. So and I got on Looney's case about that. I was like, dude, the frick, okay? Knives are kind of painful when you put them in someone's back. Let's see. So basically, if a convention wants me, cool, I'll go if I'm invited. But
you
don't
gotta
make
promise.
don't make me the headline. No, I don't even care about that. Don't make me the headliner. I'm sure if I go and I tell people I'm going, a few people will come, and it'll be fun, and I will do everything I can to help your convention. I'm like, I don't know where you get this idea that I would make a good headliner.
But the point is that don't cancel us if we haven't done anything.
I know, right? It's just ridiculous. I don't know. Corp, what do you think about that whole situation?
It's kind of funny because I think one of the chairs of Pony Expo was doing badge checks at Mare Fair.
That's hilarious.
No, I think it's unfortunate. I don't know. One of the things I think that you've seen on Mare Fair that we did differently is our social media, and maybe this is part of the whole marketing thing you talked about, was we didn't really interact a lot on social media with people. We were trying on purpose not to have an account that did anything more than just make announcements or answer simple questions on Twitter. That's what we wanted. That's all we wanted. So, if someone was tweeting to us saying, "Oh, you should cancel them or that this person," we would just ignore it. Like, that would be our response.
And that is the correct response to have, because once you start caving to the mob, then there's no pleasing these people. So why would you even bother?
Yeah, once you give in to anyone, there's typically more demands afterwards. So
Yeah, and they're not coming anyway, and they're gonna hate you anyway. And they don't bring anything to the table themselves anyway, and most of the time they're horrible people themselves anyway. So there's just no point. You don't back down. You don't flinch at when a bully comes at you like that. They get off on having that kind of power over you. You ignore it and it goes away. Let's see.
Yeah.
Mr. Sevixon says, in relation to what you were talking about with getting on Equestria Daily, Equestria Daily be like that sometimes.
yeah, it's unfortunate because I think Sethisto liked what we were doing. Maybe, I mean, from what I heard secondhand, he was supportive of Mare Fair. He thought it was a good idea. He wanted to support it, but there were other people, like on Twitter again, who I think, or in the comments section of the articles, because Equestria Daily, I forgot how bad their comment section on their articles is, who were complaining about us being mentioned and featured, and that got back to someone else in Equestria Daily, and they decided to take it down. And Sethisto, being Sethisto, didn't want to like countermand them, so that just stayed down.
Isn't it? Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Isn't it Sethisto's or Sethisto? I've never heard it pronounced like that before. It ultimately, isn't it his website? I would think that he would have the final say on that.
Well, I don't know if you know him like at all.
I ran into him a few times.
He's kind of I don't know. The feeling I get, and I don't know him super well, but the feeling I get in the few times I've seen him interacting is, if someone's like, "Oh, I really don't think this is a good idea," he's probably not going to fight it unless it's something he really believes strongly about. And I just don't think he wanted to fight it either, because he didn't want the drama or for whatever reason. I can't answer for his reasons,
Okay, so here's what you do, Corpulent. When you're getting ready to announce the next event, everything is Trixie themed. All right, he will put his foot down when Trixie is involved. We all know this.
Yeah, it might be a way to do it.
Alrighty
Where's
then.
Bat Pony?
Placeholder says, by the way, the opening animation for Mare Fair is absolutely fantastic. Watched and listened to it at least a dozen times now. It was a really good freaking song.
Yeah, like it's so amazing. Like, the people involved in making that, there were a ton of artists and animators who worked on that, something like a lot. And they all did so much. And the big stars on that really were like Anon the Anon. He did, I think, a lot of the animation. And Date Beo, who organized everything. It was really amazing. Date Beo also wrote the lyrics. It's a rewritten song from Muppets, right? But
yeah,
they all did, like, that entire group. Like, the artist support Mare Fair got, it was some of the best I could have ever hoped for. just artists who just wanted to support the convention, wanted to draw cute pictures of our OCs, and just wanted to do what they could to make it a success. So.
Mm-hmm. And that's all I saw in the chat. Did either of you gentlemen have anything that you wanted to tackle from the chat?
Let's see. Something from here from Placeholder. People who are these insanely tribal shouldn't be given the light of day to begin with.
Well, that's what I was saying though. We're just becoming an echo chamber at this point.
It's a message that needs to be echoed, though.
I suppose so.
This Placeholder guy is pretty intelligent. I like him. But one of the things he points out was the opening, or wait, no. The 2 rarity centered panels. So I'm going to have to go ahead and blame that on the guy in charge of scheduling, who is a big rarity fan. He made that decision. But no, we actually they were 2 different panels. One of them was more like a lecture type of thing, and one of them was more of a kind of a meme, rarity type panel. So we approved every single anyone who applied for a panel about like their favorite pony, like about a specific pony or any of that. We approved all of those, like without question, because we thought they'd be funny and provide a good a good feeling to the con, talking about ponies again.
Mm-hmm. Last one here. Paladin said, Brony, have you ever tried to make a fanfic for a competition before? No, I have not. I have made one fanfiction. It's on FimFiction. It's called Dreamquestria. Midnight 29 did a dramatic reading of it.
Where I played Shining Armor.
Yep, Cruiser was Shining Armor. It's mid, but if you like a unique spin on human and equestria genre, you might like that. I literally just made it as a challenge to myself to see if I could make that genre good. And I don't know if I succeeded or not. I suppose that's subjective. That's all I see. Cruiser, is there anything you wanted to say before we close out?
Just that I hope you guys come back.
Yeah, same, dude.
Well, thank you guys for coming to the con. I was super excited, Brony, that you decided to come, and Heather and Cruiser and everyone else, like your entire group, because
we brought 4 people with us.
Edits joined us. Yeah, he was fun to have there.
There was Edits. There was our friend Emerald Spencer.
Wait, you had Edits?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, Edits Kun. He was there.
Yeah.
My roommate Emerald Spencer, his girlfriend came. So yeah, that's 6 of us.
It was really awesome though that you guys took a chance on us and had a fun time. I'm really glad about that. And if there's another one, I hope you guys can come back. So
we certainly will. And you're really easy to get to especially if you stay in the Orlando area. So it would take a lot to stop me. Alrighty then. So with that, we'll wrap up. Thanks for everybody who tuned into the show. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. I saw a couple of new names in the chat, so hopefully I have earned your continued viewership. If you would like to get on the show, we would love to have you. Just support the channel however way you feel most comfortable. We sold some t-shirts today, so I was very excited about that. We're very grateful to everybody who supports, especially the $10 and up tier, such as Heather, Shady, Sid, Autoknight, Emerald, Senko, DJ, Rein-Kun, QFlash, Billy, Alden, EasyMode, Kanto, Mr. Sonic, Alicia, Sniper Nighter, Calbeck, StarChaser, VentureCorp, Willieson, Canis Gorilla, and Dark Malcontent, executive producer of Titan Art Studios. Check out all the support links as well as their content in the description. They make some pretty good stuff too. And go watch right now my panel, my Harmony Through Health panel. I just uploaded it during this stream to my channel. So if there is a convention that you would like to see myself, Corpulent, and or Cruiser at, here's what we need you to do: is go tell those conventions that you want to see us there.
Pretty much, actually. He's not kidding there, people.
Yeah, I mean, they usually have, make suggestions of community guests. fill those out, put our names on them. You know, something I heard recently while I was at Everfree Northwest is Silver Quill literally heard like people, the staff at Everfree Northwest say, Brawny Buck will never be a community guest because he's too mean. I'm not sure what to think about that because it's at least half true. I am kind of a jerk.
At least people think you are.
You know darn well I can be a big frickin' jerk if I need to. I think it's more about politics, which sucks. I would rather not be invited because I'm a jerk than because of my politics, but that's neither here nor there, and I have no control over it. I just thought it was funny, so I wanted to
They think you're a jerk because of your politics.
Yeah. I mean, and these people who have never met me, never watched any of my videos, and never bothered to try to reach out or have a conversation with me about anything, they certainly know everything about me, don't they? I am pure frickin' evil, aren't I? Alrighty then. So, Corpulent, thank you so much for giving me 2 freaking hours of your Friday night. I hope it was. Did you have fun tonight?
Oh yeah, thanks for inviting me. I like I said, I love talking conventions. I'll do it anytime.
Yeah, and hopefully my political ranting wasn't too much for you.
I can handle anything.
All right, you're a good man, dude. All right, so yeah, hopefully we'll see you all next time. Tomorrow, we're going to be playing golf with friends at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then I'm hanging out on Princess Heather Blossom's channel for her crochet stream. Yeah, so tune into all that and come hang out with us. Until then, have a lovely night. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. God bless you all. Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, guys.